Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, where's the beef in Alabama's U.S. Senate race? And there are 3 bills, big ones, left in the House. And why, oh why, must yoga die?
I'm sorry, Pop, I'm sorry!
Dead like yoga, but maybe he'll stick the landing. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and today I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire.
Thank you.
And Josh Moon, columnist and investigative reporter at APR. Welcome.
So glad to be back. God, I missed you guys. Really, really missed you guys.
Yeah, we missed you too. Of course, I got to see you, but the rest of the world
didn't want to see me.
So sorry.
Yeah, you're a lot better than the other guy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Josh.
Well, you know, there's 3 big bills at least still sitting in the House. Mm-hmm. They are medical marijuana, whether doctors are prohibited from prescribing medical treatment for children that are transgendered, and also transgendered youths, and also the gaming bill, Josh. There are only 3 days left in this legislative session. I mean, it's 3 days. Right. Tuesday, Thursday, and then May 17th. What do you think they get done?
Well, first of all, you gotta respect the devotion to procrastination that our legislature shows. They're great at this. Every single year, it's the same thing. It always comes down to the last minute. I think the gambling bill and the medical marijuana bill have the best chances of passing. I'm beginning to believe that there is a push behind the scenes to keep the transgender youth bill from passing, because it's cruel, and I believe it'll cost the state a lot in lawsuits, and they see that. I mean, you're really, and plus it's really unpopular with a lot of people, because it's another intrusion of government in between patients and doctors.
Right.
And I think no matter what your beliefs, whether they be whatever your beliefs are, I think people have a real problem with somebody stepping between a medical professional and the patients that they're treating there. So I think they've got some real problems with that. Gambling, they're rewriting the gambling bill as we speak, or have rewritten the gambling bill as we speak. But I think it's got a good shot.
Yes.
I know I've heard. I know what you've heard as well, and so I think that it's got a pretty decent shot.
I mean, Susan, House Speaker Mac McCutcheon said that he was going to do everything he could. He would be bringing the gaming bill to the floor, either this coming Thursday or May 17th.
May 17th. So
if he keeps his word, then we're going to get a vote one way or the other on that gaming bill.
If they don't time out, now the legislators are supposed to get a copy of the bill on Saturday.
Right.
So they can review it over the weekend. We'll see, because you're talking about probably a 6-hour debate there.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
Like Josh said, procrastination, right down to the last minute.
Well, the big thing we've been hearing is just getting, the track owners, the Porch Creek Indians have come together. They've reached an agreement, but you have different factions within the legislature that want different things. Now, we know that Governor Ivey's team has been working behind the scenes to bring everyone together, Josh, and I think that does make a difference, having Governor Ivey's input.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you the other thing that makes a big difference is Governor Ivey threatening, a special session if this doesn't get done. And I think that's pretty well been promised that if something doesn't get done on the gambling this legislative session, then they're going to come back into a special session and try it again. So you're going to come back when people would ordinarily be on vacation or whatever and have to try this thing again. And so I think that'll encourage some folks to get something done. I'm with you. I think that, and I've thought all along that this has got a real good chance. And I'll tell you this: talking to the people that are most familiar with the negotiations and things that are going on behind the scenes, they're still very optimistic that this gambling bill is going to pass and that they feel pretty good about the vote on it, because there's a lot of good in it for a lot of different areas in this state. And it's going to be very, very hard for representatives to pass up a lot of the revenue that's going to come from this bill that's going to aid a lot of things that they want to do in their municipalities.
Well, the other thing that Speaker McCutcheon said to reporters the other day, last Thursday, was that the medical marijuana bill was going to be a tough one to get through. Hey, that's not exactly his words, but that was the takeaway, Susan. I mean, Susan, it's the most restrictive medical marijuana bill in the United States. I mean, some 37 states have this, or even recreational marijuana. But there is a belief out there, and there's no accounting for what people believe, that this is still a gateway drug.
I'm sorry, when we're talking about gateway drugs, I think about the child that Patricia Todd brought before the legislature several years ago that was having 100 epileptic seizures a day. Now, they want to treat this child with pharmaceutical drugs instead of a plant?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, this is, you can call it a gateway drug. You can't, this bill is so restrictive, you can't even use it for PMS. You can't use it for menopause. Of course, women are always out on that. But no, it's
the legislature forgetting about women, Josh.
Again?
Who'd have thought?
What? Right. But, yeah,
what? All those old gray-haired dudes forgot about women again?
Yeah, like for all those gray-haired dudes just to have one menstrual cycle. That would just bless my heart.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's
Well, but anyway,
listen,
it's that restrictive. Come on now.
And I think
listen, the gateway drug is opioids. And we've got
Agreed.
37 different
Yes.
Opioids that are legal out there. I just made up 37, but there's a bunch of them that are legal that can be prescribed anywhere, and they're far more dangerous, far more addictive, and far more costly than marijuana ever would be. And marijuana is going to replace the prescriptions on some of those drugs.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't think
pharmaceutical companies don't like that.
right.
Yeah, I know. I think
you're
that
gonna treat
there's no small part.
ADHD with Ritalin, or you want to treat it with CBD oil?
Well,
I mean, a natural alternative, God forbid.
as I've said ad nauseum, I have never seen a guy smoke a joint and beat the hell out of his wife and kids. I have known men that did that when they were drinking alcohol. But we have alcohol. Now you can even have
You
your
can get it
alcohol
delivered.
I mean,
Jeez,
cheers. Bottoms up, everybody. I mean, I guess it's...
Exactly, yeah.
What you get out of a
Quite the
pandemic
change,
is
isn't it?
amazing, right?
Our Republican colleagues are all for drinking. They just don't want you smoking.
No.
We're going to have
No,
to leave it
that's-
right there. You're watching the V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back with more news and opinion.
So you got caught speeding. But this time you got more than a ticket.
What are you in for?
Vehicular homicide.
Stop speeding before speeding stops you. Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
Your career isn't a job, it's a journey. Your next job could lead to bigger things, and you're in charge of how fast and how far you want to go. At alabamaworks.com, you can connect with employers and start working right now. Then chart your path forward with training and career planning tools. That next paycheck is great, but it's only the beginning. Start a great success story at alabamaworks.com.
Welcome back to the V, the voice of Alabama politics. Susan, I know you remember this commercial back in the 80s. Where's the beef?
Yeah. I do.
You know, we've been looking at Mo Brooks' campaign and how his allies and all are saying that, oh, the race is over. He is so far out ahead that nobody's going to catch him. It's done, it's done, it's done. You know, one of the things we haven't seen is any beef. In other words, we haven't seen any polls that show where Mo Brooks stands. If he's at like 30 or 40%
Right.
after Donald Trump's endorsement, he's in trouble, right?
Yeah, and I think that goes to why they're saying that, you know, he is the front runner. He's the winner. Because they know they're lagging in the polls so gravely that they have to come out and go ahead and declare victory now, even though the last poll I heard, he was like at 40% after the endorsement, like you said. That's a long way from being the winner. I'm sorry.
But that, Josh, that number came from former President Trump. I mean, you know, I don't know that really came from a pollster. But, you know, he wants to be perceived as a front runner because that's how you raise money, right?
Sure, yeah, and look, I think we learned from the big lie and the insurrection that Mo Brooks helped lead that they're not great at math. So I mean, you know, I don't discount the fact that he's leading because right now at this particular time in the race, you know, it's all about name recognition.
Right.
And Mo Brooks has a lot of name recognition right now because. He was the guy that helped lead the insurrection. So, I mean, it's, you know, I mean, this is kind of how it worked. It's not necessarily great name recognition. And I think the farther we get away from that event and the more things kind of calm, you know, as Joe Biden continues to kind of build momentum in his administration and more people begin to forget about the guy, whatever his name was, who was president last.
The other guy.
You know, I think that hurts Mo Brooks, and I think it opens the door for a lot of other people. Possibly, maybe somebody sane. Maybe you could nominate some sane person to be, you know, your nominee for the party.
And Susan, Ambassador Lindy Blanchard, she is running as an outsider, and she is actually an outsider, although she's given millions of dollars to the Republican Party.
Right.
But she runs in exactly the same lane as Mo Brooks. And, you know, Brooks has lived off the government almost all his adult life.
Yes, he has. And while Lindy Blanchard, you know, is a contender here, like Josh said, the name recognition is going to really, really hurt her in that lane. I mean, they're so close to each other in the way, you know, they're well, I haven't actually heard anybody say anything about policy or what they're going to do other than just run. But, yeah, that's going to hurt her a lot.
Well, I think, Josh, one of the things we looked at the other day, and you and I talked about it, is that Mo Brooks has spent 40 years, most of his adult life, working in government jobs, whether elected or appointed. We looked at his campaign finance. 57% of his donations come from outside of the state. And the big donations come from the swamp creatures that he's so against. I mean, so how do you run as an outsider if you are part of the swamp? Even if you yell about the swamp, you've been on the government dole for 40 years, man.
He's phony. He's been phony his entire career. This is what he is. I mean, it's all a show. It's all a game. It's all for Mo Brooks' benefit and nobody else's. This is who he is. It's who he's been his entire career. He's been a phony the entire time he's been there. He's been a guy who's lived off the government. He's been a guy who's been in bed with the swamp the entire time he's been there. He's become rich off the government. I mean, what else he's done nothing to earn your vote. Zero. He's done zero to earn your vote. I mean, name a bill he's passed. One.
Well,
just name one.
Post office.
Well, post office and got a felon.
But that wasn't even a bill.
Pardon.
That was just a resolution.
Resolution.
Name a
He did
bill.
get a felon. He got a felon pardon.
Yeah.
That stole, you know,
Ed
from the
Henry.
government. Anyway,
We got that done.
I want to move on here. Kenneth Pascal, a Republican, a black Republican, just won the primary in the special election for District 73. We know Kenneth, nice guy.
We do.
And because of the way it's, you know, we would like to congratulate him, first off, for winning that primary and running in that race. I mean, he won it by 64 votes, Susan, but it looks like he will be the next representative from District 73 simply because it's a Republican district, right?
Right, and that goes to a bit about, redistricting and the way that it gets gerrymandered, and that he won that by a very small percentage, I believe.
Well, he won by 64 votes.
Right.
And I think
It was a very small percentage of the total voting population for that area.
Right. I mean, Josh, we looked at those numbers, and you and I talked about it. There were only 2,888 Republicans who voted in that primary, and he won by 64 votes. How is this representative government?
Oh, it's not. It's gerrymandered government is what it is. I mean, look, man, you drive down turnout when you essentially take all the mystery out of things, and you've taken the mystery out of that district for the most part. It's a shame. It really is, because if I'm not mistaken, didn't that district encompass most of a district that was formerly held by a Democrat?
Yeah, that district was,
Joe Hubbard.
up until 2000, 14? They redistricted, so it was no longer a Democratic seat.
Exactly.
Exactly. One of the last remaining white Republicans. White Democrats. White Democrats. No limit on white Republicans. But
gerrymandering plays no part in any of this, right? That's not. That's a ghost.
Look at the districts. Just look how they're drawn. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Just look at the way they're drawn and tell me why you drew them that way. And it's just it's absurd, and everybody knows it's absurd. Everybody, the judges hearing the cases, the people trying, they all know it's absurd. All right, but this is what you do when you win. And so it's just become acceptable for some reason, and it really hurts voters, and it hurts the government that we elect. It's just bad.
73% of that district's population is of voting age. Their district is about 50,000 people, so a little more than 5% of the people will decide what type of government represents that district.
Well, out of nearly 50,000 people, you got 2,888 voters.
That's right. All right, we're going to have to leave it right there. You're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. In Alabama, democracy is on the decline.
You'll never guess what 400,000 people in the U.S. were using when they crashed their cars last year. No, not this. This. Distracted driving will kill you. Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
The first house was just ground to pieces, the first half, and the second story was completely gone. There was debris everywhere, people yelling, people crying. It was incredible. So our first instinct was to get our family to a safe spot, get everyone to a safe place.
I remember people saying there's another one coming. There's another one coming. And at that point in time, you look around and there's nowhere to go. Yeah. And you just want somewhere for you to take these babies.
It's unbelievable. It's the power and destruction, but yet the gentleness of in some aspects, it's hard to explain.
Well, and I think the only way to do that is God's grace. And that's when, we realized, God had given us an opportunity to live and to raise our babies and to make an impact. And so I think that that's not something we take lightly. And so, work hard every day to make the most of the time we've been given and make a difference in people's lives around us.
Welcome back to The V, the voice of Alabama politics. I would say I'm surprised, but in government, there are no surprises.
You know where you live?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And, I love Alabama. That's my home. Yep. I'm going to die here, and they're going to bury me here if they'll allow it. But we had all this national press about yoga. Mm-hmm. There's a bill that passed out of the Senate to allow yoga in public schools. The idea being that in the 90s, the early 90s, the Department of Education or the Board of Education decided that they did not want yoga in schools because it might lead to some nefarious joining of Hindu cults or something like that. It looked like it was going to pass. It passed the House. It got held up in Senate Judiciary Committee, of all places. Susan, and the argument was what?
We might be converting kids to Hinduism.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how many. 14% of the American population takes a yoga class.
Yeah.
All right. So you've got, apparently all of these people are so upset about this bill that they're probably calling their representative to tell them not to vote for the bill on their way to yoga class. It's crazy. You got 35.2 million people that do yoga as exercise. Exercise, not a religion. Not a religion, okay? It's exercise. It's stretching and breathing. God forbid that children should be able to do that and rest their little fevered brains or, calm them down to some degree. It's not like, you actually start speaking Hindu.
Right. Well, Hinduism is the fourth largest religion in the world. About 1% of the United States population practice Hinduism. But, Josh, this is just the biggest pander bill ever. To not pass it is just ridiculous. We look like idiots.
Yeah. Maybe if a little stretching among kids at school is that big of a threat to your religion, you got bigger problems than that with your religion. I've talked to Jeremy Gray, the sponsor of this bill, representative from Opelika, about this, and his purpose for doing this is Jeremy runs a health and nutrition business, small business, and he was teaching yoga to people as part of that business, as part of being a trainer and a nutritionist. And he saw the effects that it had, and he's also got some other bills that deal with children's health. He wanted to see about putting water bottle refillers in schools to make sure kids had good drinking water throughout the day to stay hydrated. So he's that kind of a guy. This is what he's looking for is the health and well-being of the kids that are in school all day. And the idea that first of all, we've taken all the religious aspects out of this. Okay, it's all gone. You can't even say namaste for God's sake.
Right.
Which means I bow to you. That's all that means. I bow to you.
It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't. It's just so dumb, Yeah. And who do you think is going to teach this? You think the schools are going to bring in some Hindu instructor that are teaching these things? It's so stupid. Pass the bill, let the kids stretch, for God's sakes.
The poses themselves are in English. The lion, the scorpion, the cobra. It's not in stinking Hindu,
what I think it is these lawmakers are tired of their wives buying those Lululemon yoga pants that cost a small fortune.
No, they can buy them for their wives. They just can't teach it to their children.
Hey, listen, I've been around those lawmakers. They like those Lululemon yoga pants.
No doubt.
All right. Well, as long as you don't buy them for your mistress and get caught with it on your credit card.
There you go.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to what I think is a particularly serious bill. The Alabama Sheriff's Association has said this is a dangerous bill. It's dangerous for the public. It's dangerous for lawmakers. Josh, the House is considering a measure that passed the Senate that would allow individuals to carry concealed weapons without a permit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the sheriffs are very much against this and have been. And, the pushback has always been to the sheriff's argument, well, you just want that because you want the money from the permits. That's providing you with a lot of money. Well, in response to that, over the last several years, several sheriffs around the state have made the permits either free or reduced the cost in them greatly. To offset that argument specifically, to say, listen, we're not in this for the money. What we want is to be able to tell when this person comes for a permitless carry if they need to have this sort of a weapon, if they need to have a gun at all to be able to carry it around. And so they want to take a look at some of the folks that are coming in there, and I think and they will tell you that this has stopped people that they feel would be very dangerous with a firearm from getting one.
Right.
And the last time we renewed our permit, we renewed it for 5 years. It was $25. That's $5 a year. $5 a year.
Not a whole lot of money. Well, if the sheriffs say it's a dangerous bill, I would agree. I would agree.
With all the shootings we've got going
Yeah.
on right now, as you know, and we talked about this earlier this week. You know, we're in a time now where you have to qualify what shooting you're talking about on a particular day.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
it's just.
And I was
Go
just going
ahead,
to say it's a tiny percentage of the people who get denied a permit, and
Right.
I guarantee you, for every single one of them that gets denied, those sheriffs can point to a legitimate reason for why they have denied those permits on there. And I just, you know, and this, why would you not err on the side of caution, given all that we've seen going on with these firearms?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to move on to one last subject. We've got about a minute, maybe a little bit more. Vaccine hesitancy. You know, I'm vaccinated.
I'm vaccinated.
Josh.
Yep, we're all vaccinated.
We're all vaccinated. And one of the things is you do it for your own safety, but you also do it for others' safety.
Of course.
But right now, Alabama in the month of April started out in April with a high of 43,000 vaccinations a day. This past week, it dropped down to 17,000 a day, Josh. We're seeing numbers that suggest that people just are not going to get the vaccine because they don't want to do it.
I don't understand, man. I mean, I you know, at this point in time, this has been going on for more than a year now. You know, I mean, the vaccines. You know, this is when some of the first groups started getting them in the trials. So you know, if there were going to be these great harm done to anybody, we would have seen it by now. But what we have seen is how effective these vaccines have been against this virus. And you know, if you want to go back to normal, go get your vaccine.
Yeah. My only thing I can go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
All I was going to say is that there are some people that just they don't believe they need it. They are just think it might harm their body. And then there are people that do it for political reasons.
And I think a lot of it really comes down to when you get down to the excuses. I don't get sick. I don't think it's for me. I've been fine so far. It really comes down to they're afraid of a needle.
Yeah,
that's
there's
really
some
where it
people
comes
that
down
are
to.
that. The only
For
thing.
God's sake, it's a needle. It takes a second.
Yeah, but
A second.
again,
To protect you, your loved ones, and everyone you come in contact.
Well,
get the vaccine.
We want to get this down so that we all can go back to a normal life, but we're going to have to leave it right there. You've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.